And so, according to Israel, it can kill them and then have the audacity to come to this room and tell the world with a straight face, we are acting in accordance with international law. The death of each of the over 11,350 people killed over the past month, be it children, journalists, UN staff, the sick, the elderly, according to Israel, was justified.
So there was a UN General Assembly vote yesterday to kind of like press Israel to have a ceasefire in Gaza. Article 99 that was called by Antonio Guterres didn't pass because America vetoed it and England abstained from the vote. So the next step was to convene the General Assembly and try to see if they can pass a resolution or if they can press the Security Council to kind of like sit again and re-examine their whole decision. I just have to say this, right? Watching all this unfold, the Security Council, the General Assembly, has really given me some things to ponder about. I have always thought that the UN has enough power and responsibility as a body to do things that are beneficiary for the global world, if I might put it that way. But I am finding it out that at the United Nations, just but a few countries have that power to really affect any change. That most countries are just there for no good reason at all. Because how can you imagine that an organization of 190 plus countries, if I'm not mistaken, can hardly pass anything if the 5 permanent members of the Security Council are not on board with it? Is that democratic? Is that democracy? So how come the West would preach to us about democracy, about one person, one vote? But at the United Nations, that same principle of one person, one vote doesn't really count. The West would preach to us about majority carry the day. But at the United Nations, the whole concept of majority carry the day doesn't really mean a thing. How come? And the most frustrating thing about all this is that countries will go to the United Nations and they will cry out on how this body needs a reform, this body needs to be able to meet up with challenging things or challenging times, and that the body is dying. The body is unable to meet up with its duties and obligations, and that a reform of the whole thing is needed and is needed now. They will scream on this. They will shout. And then they will go and nothing will happen. Nothing. And then next year will come and they will go to the UN General Assembly and they will echo the same sentiment again about change, about reform. And then nothing happened. Nothing. So let's listen to this Palestinian diplomat at the UN in Geneva put forward her arguments. Let's watch.
Israel said something that should make all of you shudder. It effectively said, I can kill any and every person in Gaza. The 2.3 million people in Gaza are either terrorists or terrorist sympathizers or human shields. and are therefore legitimate targets. Every person, according to Israel, falls into one of these three categories: a child, a journalist, a doctor, a UN staff, a newborn baby in an incubator. And so, according to Israel, it can kill them and then have the audacity to come to this room and tell the world with a straight face, we are acting in accordance with international law. The death of each of the over 11,350 people killed over the past month, be it children, journalists, UN staff, the sick, the elderly, according to Israel, was justified. Think about that for a moment and let it give you pause. Anyone espousing this warped logic has no shred of humanity, no sense of morality, and no knowledge of legality. But guess what? Your carpet explanation for carpet bombing will not fly. People are not fools. The people in this room are seasoned diplomats who are well-read, have a knowledge of history, and many of whom have seen your government make the same arguments during your 6 previous military aggressions on Gaza in the past 15 years. They have seen you resort to collective punishment, targeting of Palestinian children, journalists, medical staff, aid workers before. They have seen you forcibly transfer our communities, colonize our lands, demolish our homes, and evict families from their own properties since the 7th of October and for the 75 years that preceded it.
I like to think that I'm being fair here. And when I listen to people talk, I can always give credit when it's due. Remember, I have no beef in this fight, and I have no reason to be one-sided. But if anyone just watch with an open heart, with an open mind, if anyone whose mind has not been corrupted, you just watch, put yourself as a neutral person and watch, and tell me if what the Israelis are doing in Gaza is fair. Now, let's not talk about Hamas, because I have mentioned that Hamas is a very destructive organization. And if I were to be in the place of the Mossad or the Israeli authority, I would rather target those individuals, like the top-ranking officials of Hamas, and just take them out. That's what I will do. I'll just take them out. Let me just make this point very clear before we continue. There might be a reason why Israel is doing all this in Gaza. The reason might not necessarily be to eradicate Hamas, as they have said, but rather to colonize the land. That might be a reason why they are targeting Gaza, where they know very well that top-ranking Hamas officials are not in Gaza. They know very well. So if their whole objective was just to eradicate Hamas, as they have clearly stated, why not target the leadership of Hamas? Because remember, a very effective way of killing a snake is to cut off the head, and so the body dies. But if you cut off the tail, the head will just be alive, and then a new tail will grow. We all know this, and I'm guessing Israel knows this very well. The fact that they are not so much interested in the authorities, rather than just carpet bomb Gaza, they are planning on flooding Gaza with seawater. Make you understand that their reason behind all this might not be Hamas, might not be eradicating Hamas, but rather colonizing Gaza. Because remember, Israel has been successful in turning Palestinian territories in the West Bank into a civilian dystopia. Israel can move in and out of West Bank as they will. Israel can go into West Bank, round up Palestinians there, take them to Israel, and imprison them. Israel security forces can move into West Bank as they want or as they like. Israel can build illegal settlement in the West Bank, and the Palestinian Authority cannot stop them. So that might be the reason why they want Gaza, because Hamas has been very successful in keeping Israel out of Gaza. Now, Israel might just claim that we move out on our own, but I don't think so. I think they were forced to move out. If Hamas let them, they would have come in and start doing anything they want. But I think Hamas was more straightforward with them. Not like, listen, you won't cross the border. We just want to let you know. And if you do that, we will attack. If you put settlements in Gaza, we will attack. Okay, so don't do it. And Israel was scared to do that. Now that Israel is done with the West Bank, now that Israel has totally made the PLO ineffective, Israel now wants to move to Gaza. So, in another sense, Israel wants from the River Jordan to the sea for itself. That's what they want. Because if not that, what explanation can you really give me as to why they are carpet bombing Gaza rather than going after Hamas leadership who they know are living abroad? Why? But you guys out there, let me get your take on this. What might be the reason why Israel is carpet bombing Gaza rather than targeting Hamas leadership? And the second question, are you really sure? Are you 100% sure that Israel had no idea that something that the event that took place on the 7th of October was being planned? They had no idea about that? Let us know in the comment section below. Like always, we love hearing what you have to say.